coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. As of September the 1st, enhanced penalties for impaired driving took effect across Saskatchewan. The new penalties include zero tolerance for drug impairment and longer vehicle seizures and license suspensions. The Swift Current S.P.C.A. and Southwest Crisis Services are partnering for a new pet safekeeping program to help victims of domestic violence in the Swift Current area. With the return of cool and crisp autumn air, it's a clear reminder of the changing seasons. And this is also a good time of the year to look up and check your smoke detector. Thanks for joining us here today. In an effort to make Saskatchewan roadways safer, new impaired driving penalties are now in place. We have more in today's top story. As of September the 1st, enhanced penalties for impaired driving took effect across Saskatchewan. The new penalties include zero tolerance for drug impairment and longer vehicle seizures and license suspensions for impaired drivers with passengers under 16 years of age in the vehicle. Enhanced fines, which have been on the radar for months, and are meant to further ensure everyone's safety on the roadway.
But zero tolerance is important right now. We talk about safety on the highways, and that's so important for us. We've made good progress on impaired driving, and impaired driving is not just drinking and driving. A lot of the deaths that have occurred over the last number of years are a combination of drugs and alcohol, and so this is with a specific thing, and with the legalization of it, we don't know exactly how people are going to react to it. So we're very convinced that zero tolerance was the way to go.
And once pulled over by the police, if the officer has reasonable grounds to believe that the driver is impaired by a drug, they can make a demand that the driver submit to an evaluation conducted by a drug recognition evaluator. Police across Saskatchewan are being trained to recognize signs of impairment from drugs, and there are currently 74 drug recognition certified officers in the province, with 20 to 40 new officers being trained each year. More information on the updated impaired driving penalties in Saskatchewan are available online. The Swift Current S.P.C.A. and Southwest Crisis Services have partnered for a new program, and it surrounds family pets. The Swift Current S.P.C.A. and Southwest Crisis Services are partnering for a new pet safekeeping program to help victims of domestic violence in the Swift Current area. Similar initiatives are already in place through the Regina Humane Society and the Saskatoon S.P.C.A., helping to get family pets out of a violent atmosphere. Programs which the Saskatchewan S.P.C.A. is pleased to support.
Well, we know Saskatchewan has the highest rate of domestic violence. We're double that of the national average. And we know that pet ownership is a barrier for people fleeing violent relationships. There's a term that we use called the link. So the connection between domestic violence, animal abuse, child abuse, and elder abuse. A lot of times one form of abuse is not happening in isolation of another form. So if domestic violence is going on in the home, there's a very good chance that the animals are involved in that as well, or used as another way to manipulate and control the victim of violence. So the threat that if you leave, this is what's I'm going to harm the dog, or harm the dog. If you leave, this is what's going to happen to you type thing. Prior to this position at the Saskatchewan S.P.C.A., I worked in the field of domestic violence for nearly 11 years. So, and I've had worked directly with clients that would not leave until they knew their pets were safe.
The success of the program will rely on the support of foster families willing to temporarily look after pets, while crisis clients move out of their current situation and into a more safe and stable environment.
Then a referral would be made to the Swift Current S.P.C.A., and we would gather information would be gathered on the animal, just if there's any allergies or behavior issues or, special instructions when it comes to feeding or that type of thing. And then arrangements would be made to transport, to get the animal to the S.P.C.A. and then transported to a foster home that would be strictly confidential. So with that, the victim of violence who's leaving the home would not know where the animal is, but be assured that the animal is in a safe place. Once the person is, made arrangements, if they've got a new place to live or whatever arrangements have been made as they go through their journey, then communication would be had with the foster home to say, okay, she's ready to get the animal, and arrangements would be made to bring the animal back, reunited with the original owner.
A public information meeting on the new pet safekeeping program is set for September 13th at 7 o'clock at the Salvation Army in Swift Current. Smoke detectors save lives, and fire officials are reminding you this is a good time of the year to change the batteries. With the return of cool and crisp autumn air, it's a clear reminder of the changing seasons. And this is also a good time of the year to look up and check your smoke detector to ensure the unit is working properly.
On the whole, we tend to be or think that things are safer than maybe they are, and we live in a very safe society, and smoke detectors are everywhere. We're protected, and I think we take for granted maybe that those things are in working conditions. Over the last few years, we've talked about how older ones or ones that are older than 10 years old don't tend to work very well or have a failure rate. I think that we maybe forget the batteries or take a battery out, or oftentimes it's beeping and then we kind of forget about it. It goes through its beeping cycle and then we don't hear it and forget about it. So checking them on a regular basis every month or every second month, pressing the test button, making sure that they work, and then replacing the actual unit every 10 years.
A variety of smoke detectors are sold at your local hardware store, from battery-operated to smoke and carbon monoxide combo units. And you're reminded that a smoke alarm should be located on every floor of the home, preferably outside of the bedroom. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.